What's going on YouTube? It's Trev. All right, I want to bring your attention to something that I have submitted on Agora. And it is pertaining to a lot of what we've been dealing with the past maybe week, a few days, whatever, regarding all nodes and validators and keys, compromised, and Jacob Kadikian and the things that he's brought to light regarding all that, right? Also, but that's kind of drifted into some things, accusations and some animosities and things regarding the L1 task force. Honestly, it's been argued to death, right? On Twitter, on Agora, various other social media outlets. And every point has been made over and over, right? At this point, the conversation's going around in circles. So what I know is that when I look at, like, you look at on proposals that are put up on station, you look at how many people actually vote, right? And then you compare that to the same names that you see over and over again taking part in Twitter conversations, on Agora, commenting on proposals. It's a relatively small number of people who actually make their voices heard, who actually express their opinions. There is a great deal more of the community who is sitting back and watching. You might get a like from them, you might get a retweet from them, but they don't engage with their voice, right, or with their text or whatever. And that's a huge percentage of the community. So, by proxy, the people who are engaging, who feel like the community would really benefit from their point of view, right? Some are more accurate than others, right? Are relatively small. But when you've got a really loud bullhorn, you can get the feeling or the appearance that you really represent a large group, right? For some reason, we equate the volume of these things, how loud people are being, with how many people actually agree. And there's really no correlation at all, right? You can be as loud as you want, but just be a handful, okay? And the louder you are, the more people you reach, but that doesn't mean that you're really swaying anybody's opinion, okay? Some people are actually turned off by that. A subtle approach for a lot of people works a little better, right? I don't know. But that's it. I don't know, right? And none of us know. So I put together this proposal, and this proposal is for the sole purpose of hearing from the community. Now, per the regular steps, I put it on Agora first, and I know that I'm going to get comments on Agora, and we already have, from, if you're familiar with Mad Magazine, from the usual gang of idiots, they call it, right? Of which I'm a proud member. I already know that, okay? And that's what's happening. So, I'm going through that step, and we'll do that. But the idea is to move this to station for an actual vote from the community, because I think we need to be done with all of the tit for tat and all of the back and forth and all of the the negativity, really. I mean, there are other ways to do this, right? You can have conversations, and you can even have debates, but you can do it without some of the mudslinging that's going on, right? But we've had enough of that as far as I'm concerned. And I want to hear from the community. I'm sick of hearing from the same people over and over again, right? Spinning our wheels. So I've never put anything on station or whatever for vote. So I got to figure out that process, right? Can't be too hard. But I want to try and move this over there, and I want everybody to vote on it. But if, before it gets there, you want to read up on it and give your opinion on it, You can certainly find it on Agora in the governance and proposals section, and the title is Community Sentiment Check Pertaining to the L1TF. Read through it and leave your comments. You know, how do you feel about it? Is this something that you would vote yes on, something you would vote no on, or are you somewhere in between? Okay, that's what we want to know, is how everybody feels. So I'm just going to read this really quick to you. I have tried very hard not to write this in any kind of bias way, right? And if it comes across that way to anybody, I wonder if you're not just expecting it to, so that's what the tone that you're getting from it, because I truly am not trying to take a side one way or the other. I just want to know what side the whole community, the majority of the community, is on, right? All right. As a member of the L1TF, Community Oversight Committee, I feel it is my responsibility to understand all perspectives to the best of my ability. All opinions have been expressed repeatedly over the last few days pertaining to the issue of validator security and the subsequent discussion about L1TF efficacy. After passionate and copious debate, I feel it is time to hear from the community itself, as this is a community-led proof-of-stake chain. I always want to say point of sale when I see POS. I believe an opportunity for everyone to have their voices heard via vote would be more indicative of the wishes of the majority than the relative few who engage on Twitter or even Agora, which is basically what I just said. Okay, it has been suggested that members of our current L1 Development Task Force may be lacking in some areas of the job. Public hostilities have broken out, and different narratives are being pushed by varying groups of people. The L1 Task Force maintains that they have performed above and beyond what was expected and are currently significantly ahead of the workload spelled out for Q1 2023. In addition, they suggest that they are more than qualified and knowledgeable in all aspects of blockchain development and intend to continue to serve the Terra Classic community as long as we require their expertise. However, jurisdiction over matters pertaining to validator security or individuals' choice as to how to run their nodes does not belong to the L1 Development Task Force, and they acknowledge this is not within their purview nor scope of work laid out in Proposal 11168. So in 11168 proposal, which was overwhelmingly affirmed by the community, right? They spelled out for all of Q1 what the workload would be, what they were going to achieve month by month, right? And again, yeah, they're kind of way ahead of that, and now actually they're able to maybe turn their focus to some of the things like text proposals that maybe had passed but never had the parameter changes to actually make them happen. So they're looking at stuff like that, like what can we continue to do to add value to Lunk for the community, right? So that's where they are right now. But things like, things that basically are a validator issue, right? Everything that Jacob brought up, right? Legitimate concerns, okay? Whether or not, however you feel about his delivery, legitimate concerns. It's good that these things came out. The community's all aware of it now. But now it's up to the validators and their delegators and all nodes and whoever else to figure out solutions and work that out. Once those are figured out, if at that point there are parameter changes that need to happen, anything that needs to happen with a code, that's when the L1 development team comes in, okay? That's what they're involved in. It's not involved in figuring out all this stuff or policing the validators or whatever for the chain, okay? And again, that's not me sticking up for them. That's how I understand it to be. You can feel free to disagree with me if you want. That's what this is all about, okay? I remember this, right? Back at the beginning when Terra Rebels were doing the work to reestablish governance, to get validators even back online on Terra Classic now, right? And the proposal was out for the 1.2% burn tax. and people had to vote on it. Okay, Zaradar and some other Terra rebels were very vocal in saying this 1.2% burn tax. I'm going to tell you, it'll probably take 100 years for that to actually get you down to the supply that you're looking for in this proposal. That's just how they felt about it, right? But, and like I said, not only him, but others, regardless of how they felt about it, they implemented the code because ultimately the vote was affirmed by the community, and that was the directive now, right? Whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, whatever your opinion is on it, that's not their job. Their job is to do the layer 1 development, to do the coding, right? So even though they vehemently disagreed with that proposal, they implemented it, okay? That's just how it goes. So this is what they want to be involved in. They don't want to be involved in all this other stuff, but they were kind of dragged into it, and it was inferred that maybe they should take steps to protect the community, right? That was one perspective. Their perspective is that that's not our job. It's not what we were mandated to do, right? Okay. Still, there are others who suggest the LUNC community might be better off sans this team and perhaps supplanted by another. If you scroll through, you will see that there is another proposal that actually came out a couple of hours before I posted this one, right? To replace the current L1 development team, task force, with an L1 development team led by Jacob Gadikian and I guess Notional Labs, okay? Now, the people who back this are members of this community. It is their perspective, it is their opinion that would be the best course of action. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, all right? And if you want to go and read through that and figure out what it is they're talking about and why, and make your own determinations as to whatever you want to determine, right? You should do that. That's what this is all about, okay? But, then there are others who say, no, we are kind of comfortable and happy with what we have and, aren't looking for anything else. Maybe particularly aren't looking for that particular team. Again, people are all over the place. I wrote this to try to figure out where the majority is, all right? Okay, this is a text proposal for the sole purpose of gauging community sentiment. The two out frontmost members, Professor Edward Kim and Tobias Zardar Anderson, it has been suggested, have failed to protect the community from a claimed crucial threat and so should step down from their positions. They have iterated, the two of them, have iterated that validator concerns of this nature are a matter for validators to settle and would consider what assistance they were capable of rendering if asked. Okay? Others have come to their defense and claimed those speaking out against these two may themselves have personal or self-serving agendas. Therefore, this proposal is offered in the hopes of clarifying the community's position on these matters. A yes vote would affirm your confidence in the current team and desire for them to continue on as a Layer 1 development task force for the Terra Classic Network. A no vote affirms that you have lost confidence in this team and believe the Terra Classic chain may be better off with a different team for its L1 development. Neither a yes or a no vote in and of themselves will have any effect on the current status of Terra Classic or who is heading up the L1 development. So this proposal isn't putting anybody in power or removing anybody from power. It's just to find out how the majority of the community feels, because this is a proof of stake, decentralized project, right? And community rules. So all of the community that we don't hear from all the time, right? Who is the majority? We're looking to hear from to find out, all right, how do you feel about this, okay? Because we can't just go by the few voices that we hear on social media, and particularly the loudest ones or whatever. You can't judge it that way. Some people would like to, but you can't, all right? So the results of this vote, as previously stated, is simply meant to better understand what the community wants. And then, you scroll down through that, and, you find that there's been some engagement, okay? As a matter of fact, the person who wrote the other proposal that I referred to made the choice of posting that entire proposal here in the comment section. Okay, if that's the method that you want to go with, I mean, okay, right? Yeah, make your voice heard. So once we go through all this, I'm not sure exactly when I'll move this to station for vote, but I have a feeling I'll probably do it sooner than later. I don't know what the requisite time is on Agora, if it's 24 hours, 48 hours, a week. I don't think that I've really paid attention to that. I've seen it kind of all over the place. I don't really think that we need a bunch more debate on this. I think this is something that really just needs to be voted on. We've had all the debate we can stand over the past few days. So I think this needs to go up sooner than later. It needs to be voted on. Now, if that other proposal happens to go up before this one does, and we find out that the community votes to affirm that, then I'll have the answer I need for this one. We'll know where the community stands. But if they put it up and the community's like, no, we're all set with that, then this question still needs to be answered, okay? So I don't know how it'll play out, when this one goes up, when that one goes up, whatever. But read through them, come up with your own, I say this all the time, come up with your own decision, your own feelings on it, using whatever wisdom and logic you have in yourself, right? Don't listen to what this one says or what that one says, right? Anybody that you can point to is not always right 100% of the time. And if you just go by what somebody else says all the time, you're not doing yourself or anybody else any good, right? And you should really consider that, right? Make up your own mind. And I really don't care which way you sway on it, right? Just be honest with yourself and be open, right? And then vote, right? All right, y'all. I will chat with you about some other stuff. Let me get to this. I gotta find a better way to do this in a little while, because there are some other things to talk about. All right, but until then, hit the like button for me if you could on the way out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel. You can leave comments in the comment section here. That's always welcome. But if you have comments about the proposal, we're really better off doing that on Agora, right? Okay, I'll talk to y'all later. Ciao.